Hey, what's up, everybody? We have a new YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Leave a comment on the video. Share it with your friends. It's also a podcast, 3 and Out, wherever you listen with me, John Middlekauff, Apple, Spotify. We have you covered, as well as thevolume.com. We have merch. Check out. I got 3 and Out hats right now. Thevolume.com. Search the podcast. Buy some merch. Okay, Middlekauff mailbag. @John Middlekauff is the Instagram. You guys probably have Instagram, so just fire in my DMs. @John Middlekauff, 2 Fs, DMs wide open. For the pod, I'm curious as to what you think was going through Raheem Morris's mind to take Penix at 8. He hasn't proven himself as a head coach, and he took a very capable quarterback. I think he means Cousins. So he basically set himself up for a bidding war amongst fans and the owner of the team. I would understand if blank wanted him, but it's like he set himself up for failure. You know, the most underrated part about this entire story has not been that they fell in love with him the last month and a half, that Cousins was shell-shocked, how much money they gave Cousins, all this stuff. It's just simply that this guy in his first year, and a GM that has had 3 7-win seasons, is 21 wins in 3 years, set up their locker room for weirdness. Because you have to factor in that Cousins, at least I haven't read, while he might be ready for week 1, he is not going to be participating on the field in full speed drills for OTAs. So Penix is. This is not some young team or some veteran team that is like, hey, listen, we wanted Cousins, young guy. This is a bunch of young guys. Bijan Robinson, 2nd year. Drake London, couple years in the league. Kyle Pitts just got his 5th-year option picked up. Like, these are young, impressionable people on offense that are going to be getting the ball with, on the field, in the huddle, practicing with Michael Penix for a month and a half. Who do you think they're going to go out to dinner with? Cousins or Penix? The locker room dynamics. I heard this about New England forever. One reason when they were winning all the Super Bowls and always drafting somewhere between like 28 and 32, why Bill often traded out of the first round, and even if they were higher than that, was because he never liked a rookie on these teams that were really good to come in making a decent amount of money that he didn't view as some like can't miss player. And obviously he did draft some guys high, but I think you have to factor in the locker room dynamics. Like, this is not an Excel spreadsheet. These aren't widgets. So we can argue over the wasted money on Cousins, the wasted draft pick. Well, they did it. So they got the 2 guys together. Well, one guy can't practice, and he's the guy making $45 million a year. He has no equity with the fans or the players. None. Yeah, they saw Cousins be good in the league, but it's 2024 now, and he's in the training room. And this kid, who has been in college for 5 years, ready-made starter. Now, I don't know if he's going to be good or not. I think he probably will. I like Michael Penix as a prospect. My point is no one knows. But they're going to see the kid slinging around. I heard someone like Albert Breer told Rich Eisen that some people in that building, because they came from L.A., right, think there's like some Matt Stafford there. Well, if there's some Matt Stafford there, how the fuck is Cousins going to beat him out? And it just shows you, like, the coaches fell in love with him. The coaches fell in love with him. Because this pick doesn't happen without the coaches. This is not a GM pick. It's just not. You could have taken Spencer Rattler in the 3rd round if you wanted to take a young quarterback. You would have taken a defensive player there. Oh, there wasn't a guy we had great. Sure, just take the defensive tackle from Texas. No one's complaining. I get the defensive lineman, the ends, but they easily could have taken the defensive tackle from Texas right there. And the moment they made this pick, it's weird. And the moment things get weird in locker rooms, there's usually no coming back from it. So anyone comparing this to the Packers is the dumbest thing of all time. Jordan Love was, 1, a complete project, and 2, he was going into a quarterback room led by Aaron Rodgers, who had multiple MVPs and was easily one of the best players in the league, even off a down year. Had no chance to beat him out. The fans knew it. The players knew it. My mom knew it. We all knew it. That ain't here. Because I heard someone say this the other day, and it was like, God, that's kind of right. It's not like they're buying Peyton Manning in his prime. What has he really accomplished between? And listen, Kirk Cousins is a solid player, but he's just a regular season player. You're not getting some like all-time great. You're getting one of the highest paid players of all time, but he's not exactly Mr. Accomplished when it comes to the resume in terms of like playoff victories, dominating performances on primetime games. I think the risk of all the human dynamics is nuts. I really do. I think it's really, really high. Question for the mailbag. You're the best NFL podcast out there. Carlin, I like you, buddy. Teams are concerned about running quarterback sneaks because of injury risk. Why do more teams not put the backup quarterback in these situations? Well, if you put the backup quarterback in those situations, the other team knows. Like they 100% know what's coming. So I think that's coaches just hate, tells on their plays. So you would never like when you bring a certain guy in, if it was just like he's only running quarterback sneaks, that's why they would never do it. Were there ever any players in the NFL that you remember that had a fear of flying? Kind of like Madden in the bus? No. Because it'd be impossible to play college football without flying. So think about the overwhelming majority of guys come from Power 5 schools. You got to fly. Hell, Cal Poly, they had to fly to play Montana or whatever. So you can't really play football at a high level in college or the pros and not fly. The NBA playoffs are heating up, and so is the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. With same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out as the NBA postseason winds down. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN, that's code JOHN, for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Found you last year in the middle of the season. Haven't missed an episode since. Mailbag. I watched the Eagles. This is Grant. All access 24 draft video on YouTube. I did as well. One thing I noticed was that a couple days before the draft, the Eagles had a red star meeting where the scouts could put a star on a guy that they really liked and bring him up to the rest of the group. I don't know if you were part of those, but from your perspective, what's the point? Everyone brings up different players and says the same things about each player. Tough, resilient, high football IQ, etc. How much does Howie, a GM, take from this meeting? It's only 2 days before the draft, so how much of an impact can it have? I feel like it's more for the scouts to feel like they're heard. I think a lot of teams do versions of this. The point is, leading up to the draft, there is so much happening. So many names out there. Your board's huge. Your group has spent so much work on grading all those players on that draft board. It's basically to kind of get a little clarity in the room, right? Because there's so much noise. There's so much white noise. There's so many just shit flying around. And if you're Howie or if you're a GM, it just gives you a chance to hear like 6, 7, 10 names that you just know, like, if we're in position, because again, a lot of it's out of your control. And one of the names on there was Jeremiah Trotter. That's a bad example because he's an Eagle guy. So it's like they would have been talking about him no matter what. But just any player that if they've been talking about hammered home and this scout hammered home in the Red Star, and then it's the 4th round and how he's thinking, should we just take this guy? Or, we were going to trade, but now instead of making a trade, let's just draft this player because we all liked him. He came up in the Red Star meeting. But I agree. It's not like you couldn't quantify the power of that meeting. Is it necessary? would their draft have looked the same without it? Because, like you said, they've already talked about these players and people know they like them. I think it's just to hammer it home. It's like practice. It's like, did you really need that last rep on Friday afternoon? Was that the reason you won the game on Sunday? No, but it helped. So I think it's just repetition. Listen, Howie's making seven figures, but no one else in the room is. And most of the guys are closer to 100 grand than 300. So and the and this is not like some 9 to 5 job. This is a 100-hour a week job. So given the amount of people, even my girlfriend's friends who just rushing it in business, rushing it. And I'm talking funny, whenever I read about pay for younger people, I mean, her friends are in their late 20s, early 30s. I mean, I was like, Jesus, didn't sniff that type of coin at the time, but they ain't working 70-hour weeks when they're doing it because, you get in the right industry at the right time. You're good at sales, whatever. Football, no matter what, it's like it are long fucking days, long days, 9, 10 months a year. So for the equivalent of the work ethic, it's like, geez, you get out of it, you realize, God, that's not really adding up. But you got to make those guys feel included. That's why the video that went viral of the Colts with I don't know if you saw it, but one of their scout was just hammering this guy all spring long. The DB from Auburn, I forget his name, but he just loved him. He loved him. He pushed him. He pushed him. Then in the 5th round, they looked up at the board, and Chris is like, "Screw it, we're taking him." So he calls the DB from Auburn, and he looks back, and all the scouts are in the room, and he calls up. I think the guy's name is Jamie, the scout, and he says, "Come up here. You're making the phone call." And part of it is like you got to keep your people included if you're in a management position, because it's easy to just feel like you're just an independent contractor. What's the point of this? I'm just evaluating guys to evaluate them. No one actually cares what I think. Even if they don't actually care what you think, you're going to lose them and you'll build a bad culture. It's just business 101. So I hear you with, does the overall impact of some of this stuff matter? It's hard to know the specific return on investment of all this crap. But I think it is very, very important to have people like they feel included in the process, because it's very, very easy as a scout to just feel like you're not even part of the draft process. You're like, wait, I drove city to city, not making much money, eating Subway sandwiches and powering down Mountain Dew, and had no life, didn't see my fiance, my family, my kids. I just grinded my balls off. And now we get to the draft meeting, which is the fun part why I did all the work, and now no one even cares what I think. That sucks. I mean, it really, really sucks. Think about whatever you're doing in any of your company. After a while, it's like you spend a lot of time doing something. You want to feel like it had a purpose, like there was something behind it. And when it doesn't feel that way, so I think it's more for that, like the kind of bringing the group together. Uh, I do think there's a tangible value just because you hammer home the names. You see some of these boards, even on some of these videos that are all blurred out. I mean, you can barely see. There are so many names up there. It's just easy to get, kind of convoluted. You look at it, you're like, did we like this guy? We like this guy. Recently, news broke that Adonai Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell, I think I'm saying his name right, the wide receiver from Texas, on the Colts, would be wearing number 10 to signify the 10 receivers that were taken before him in the draft. I'm a Colts fan, but can't help but think this is cringe and immature, especially coming from someone that dropped in the draft because of possible character issues. Is my thinking out of line? What do you think? My first reaction is I just don't care. I don't think it matters. Uh, it would have been more unique when less guys, there was a small handful of guys playing receiver that didn't have a number in the 80s. But how many of the receivers now wear 10 to 19, that have numbers in the teens, or I guess even single digits? So to me, with the number change, it's like won't even notice. It's a easy thing to say once he gets good. I don't think it matters at all. And I don't think it's a reflection. Like he might have worn 10 no matter what because the numbers on the team are already taken. Uh, yeah, I don't think it impacts like from a I can't make a judgment from a character standpoint because he wants to wear 10. I mean, kind of wide receivers in the league wear 10 now. Why wouldn't the Steelers play Justin Fields at running back? Ravens put Lamar and Flacco on the field together, but they split Flacco wide, which was worthless. Taysom Hill had found a role as a second quarterback on the field and has even thrown passes. Is there a downside to having a guy back there that can run well and also throw like a semi-legit quarterback? Seems like it could create a problem. Yeah, I mean, they're already talking about putting him a kick returner. People laughed, but it's like Justin Fields would be a dynamic kick returner. I saw Sean Payton said, I don't think people realize how many explosive plays are going to come from this kickoff. Because there's not like a line of defense, right? When you're playing a defense, there are guys on the line of scrimmage, the defensive line, linebackers backed off, anywhere from 3 to 6, 7 yards. And then you have multiple corners on the outside as well as safeties. The safety is essentially the kicker, and everyone's at the line 5 yards away from, the people trying to block them. So if you reverse field and can make a guy miss or break a tackle, I think we are going to see countless touchdowns and definitely big plays. So Justin Fields has proven to be an incredible open field runner. Like, let's face it, he's got a big arm, but he's not accurate and he doesn't play well from the pocket. So far, he hasn't been a good quarterback. Though, I would like to see what Arthur Smith can do with it. There is no one that argues open field, ball in his hands. He's one of the more dynamic players in the league. Now, it's different catching the ball than just getting it snapped to you. But, yeah, I mean, I definitely would have, because Russell Wilson no longer, like, the athletic element of his game is long gone. I think we're going to see, especially if they think after training camp, like, making this guy a good quarterback is not necessarily possible. Why wouldn't you just utilize the skill set and just turn him into a hybrid? I think it could happen fast. Like Lamar proved really quickly that he could throw. And it's going to be harder for Fields if Russell's just the starter and he's not playing. You might as well want to use the player. But the problem is your backup quarterback. And then if Russell were to get hurt, you'd kind of be screwed. So it is a slippery slope because that's my thing with the Bears. Like, what if Caleb got hurt? You're going to play with Tyson Badgett? You do have to put some thought into the backup quarterback because you're one just broken foot, broken finger, just broken leg away from the quarterback, concussion, just a concussion. And then all of a sudden, like that guy starts multiple games. So I hear you. Hopefully they do that. You think the internet would break if Justin Fields returned a kick in the new kickoff rule and took it to the crib? That'd be badass. Appreciate everyone listening.